Hello fellow citizens of Metaverse, this is George from Blockchain DXB and today is the 28th of October 2022 and to be honest, the global cryptocurrency market is not looking good at all. Surprisingly, in yesterday's episode, that is on the 27th of October, I have a podcast called Crypto and Coffee at 8 where I actually talked about that the global cryptocurrency market did cross the $1 trillion mark, but unfortunately, the global cryptocurrency market has gone down to $980 billion mark. So looks like $200 billion has been wiped off from the cryptocurrency market within the span of 24 hours. And in the episode, guys, I did discuss if Tether USDT was the reason why the market had pumped. So please check out the Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast for the 27th of October. Now I'm really curious to see what that has an impact in the cryptocurrency and blockchain platforms that are linked to Metaverse. And there are some heavy talks about Federal Reserve Board Jerome Powell, who's currently facing political pressures over interest rate hikes. So the next month is going to be really significant, and that would have an impact on the cryptocurrency and blockchain platforms that are linked to Metaverse. So it's going to be really interesting to see how politics does have an impact in cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Metaverse. Now in today's episode, I'm going to be discussing how artificial intelligence enabled NFTs do have a role in the Metaverse, and can blockchain protocol withstand the scale, or are central Metaverse entities much better so far as the user experience is concerned. And I'm also going to be discussing some of the pros and cons of being an early adopter in the Metaverse. So it's really critical to understand at a protocol level, if you are an early adopter, what are the benefits, what are the challenges, and if you're developing certain dApps or decentralized apps, what are the benefits that you have, and will it have a competitive advantage if you are an early adopter? And I'm also going to be sharing one of the early adopters in the Metaverse, that is Meta's earning reports. Now look guys, there's a lot of incorrect information, misleading information regarding Meta, so I'm going to try to explain what the Meta earnings report is. And one thing which I often say is, it's so critical to look at information from the first source. So my overarching message is, when you're looking at information, not just about Metaverse, but about cryptocurrencies or blockchain or even politics, make sure you look at information from the first source. And when you read information from mainstream media, surprisingly, a lot of the information is fake news, misleading, and they're more catered toward what mainstream media wants you to understand. In today's episode, I'm also going to be sharing my opinions on potential threats to Metaverse, and are these the barriers that will have an impact on mainstream adoption of Metaverse. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on space exploration, Neuro Technology, and a potential war if that would significantly deviate or digress our interest for mainstream adoption of Metaverse. And like we do in every Metaverse Everything podcast, I will be covering top 5 Metaverse news from around the world and top 5 Metaverse news from UAE. Now let's kickstart today's episode by looking at the price of the top cryptocurrencies and blockchain platforms that are linked to Metaverse. So welcome everyone, it's 18 here in Dubai and you're listening to Metaverse Everything, where we solely focus on Metaverse. We cover top 5 Metaverse news from around the world and top 5 Metaverse news from Dubai. And Metaverse Everything podcast is a research-driven podcast focusing on educational and informational content about Metaverse and its impact. And remember guys, Monday to Thursdays, we have Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse, and how the series of episodes in the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE and Middle East and the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And Monday to Thursdays, I do have an Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. Now let's kickstart today's episode by looking at the price of cryptocurrency and blockchain platforms that are linked to Metaverse. Now as of 28th of October, the global cryptocurrency market has gone down by $200 billion, and the market cap only of the NFT platforms and Metaverse platforms is down to $11.8 billion, and it is down by 3.55%. I would be really interested to see what the market cap was on the 27th of October, and the 24-hour trading volume has also gone up. It is at $1.66 billion. In comparison to last week, the 24-hour trading volume is up by almost $800 million. And guys, you need to remember, I'm only talking about the data every Fridays because Metaverse Everything podcast is released every Fridays. Now, since the last 24 hours though, the 24-hour trading volume is down by 8.91%. Now let's quickly look at the top 5 platforms. And once again, guys, in today's report, surprisingly, it is still showing ICP under Metaverse. So when you are searching information, make sure that you're looking at the right information. Now, as of today, ApeCoin is at $4.63. And since the last 24 hours, it is down by 4.13%. Since the last 7 days, it is up by 12.95%. Decentraland or Mana is at 62 cents. And since the last 24 hours, it is down by 3.53%. And since the last 7 days, it is up by 4.86%. The Sandbox or Sand is at 77 cents. And since the last 24 hours, it is down by 2.41%. And since the last 7 days, it is up by 8.64%. Axie Infinity or AXS looks like it is making a comeback, and it is at $8.87. Since the last 24 hours, though, it is down by 4.21%. And since the last 7 days, it is up by 0.19%. The biggest gainer since the last 7 days is Theta Network, and the price of Theta is $1.14. Since the last 24 hours, it is up by 1.94%, and since the last 7 days, it is up by 18.86%. Now listen guys, if you're a startup or if you're a business entity trying to build something on Metaverse, you have a choice to build it either on an open blockchain or you can build it on a centralized blockchain. Now if you're building it on an open blockchain, out of these 5 platforms, which platform would you be building in? Mention that in the comments below. And yesterday, I did have a brilliant interview with one of the CEOs and founders of Decrypt. Her name is Richa Patil, and she does provide some useful information, particularly for startups and business entities. So stay tuned when I release the episode. Do listen to it because there's loads of information that she has actually mentioned, how Decrypt can actually help your business, or if you're an individual, or if you're a startup, definitely check this out. Now in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence enabled NFTs in the Metaverse. Now what is the role of artificial intelligence enabled NFTs in the Metaverse? Now I do think that in the near future, probably a decade's time from now, artificial intelligence will be mainstream, at least in the Metaverse, in the blockchain industry as well. So the big question is, what role will artificial intelligence play in creating and minting NFTs? And to be honest guys, if you look at the realistic time frame, I do see that thing happening at least 5 to 10 years from now. Now in the meantime, there are a couple of projects that have already incorporated artificial intelligence NFTs. Now think of it, let's say if you're a visitor in a Metaverse museum, and based on your visit entry, let's say you have proof of attendance, but even your experience is automatically creating an NFT. And what I think where artificial intelligence kicks in is, let's say, based on your emotions, based on your reactions while you're visiting the Metaverse, it could be possible that the artificial intelligence captures your emotions, combines them with the Metaverse experience, and creates a unique AI NFT. What are your thoughts on that? Another area where I do think AI merges well with NFTs is live concerts. Now we've already seen a couple of live concerts in the Metaverse. Now based on the audience reaction, based on the general energy, could it be possible that the artificial intelligence captures the mood of the audience, captures the reaction, and then creates an NFT which is only unique to that particular event? Well, I do think that that is a brilliant use case. And that is a really exciting NFT which I would be quite keen on. And it could be possible that the event organizers issues these NFTs completely free of cost to the participants. I think it will be an absolutely brilliant and upselling point. And guys, there's a lot of talk about therapy sessions in the Metaverse. Now could it be possible that the therapist do actually capture the mood of the participants, taking into consideration the legal requirements, the approval from the participants, and create an NFT? And I do think that that might be a really unique NFT as well. So at the end of the session, the participant does get an NFT based on the therapy session that they have received by the therapist. Really complicated but really interesting concept. Now at the same time, Board AI is a website which is dedicated to working together with humans to create and mint world-class NFTs. So go to Board AI. Essentially, it is a cutting-edge entertainment AI dedicated to working together with humans to create and mint world-class NFTs. And recently, Google AI, what they did, they turned all of 10,000 Board Ape Yacht Club NFTs into a machine-made art. So really unique concept. And there was a Twitter user who did actually post the images from it. So what happened is that the Google Cloud Computing AI recreated Board Ape Yacht Club NFTs into a machine-made painting, and I believe the artwork is called as Artsy Monkey, and the monkey does not have a Y. So go to OpenSea and look for Artsy Monkey, and they are original pieces of AI-generated art featuring 20 different art themes, no two are alike, and 10,000 completely unique NFTs. So really interesting and spooky concept, to be honest. The other one I can think of is starryai with a double R. And what they do is they create NFT art using artificial intelligence. Claims to be an easiest way to start creating NFTs. So NFT art using artificial intelligence is definitely making its play. The other one which I can think of and I'd like to discuss is OpenAI. And they have a project called as DALL-E. And they are creating images from text. Now listen guys, if you are a fan of Elon Musk, there are a couple of interviews of Elon Musk where he actually mentions how he shares his day-to-day time. And a lot of his time is actually spent in OpenAI. And if you're working in the blockchain space, in the cryptocurrency space, and in the metaverse industry, at this point of time, I definitely think that you should know what OpenAI is. So please do check out DALL-E. So creating images from text using artificial intelligence, I do think that this would have a really significant role in the metaverse. So really cool concept. Now guys, one thing you need to remember when you're talking about artificial intelligence NFTs in the metaverse, will blockchain protocol withstand the scale? At this point of time, unfortunately, I don't think so. Any blockchain protocol can withstand the scale. And you also need to remember the blockchain trilemma problem, that is decentralization, scalability, and security. At this point of time, any blockchain protocol says that they are able to withstand the scale. They are compromising either on centralization or on security, and it's so critical that we truly understand where blockchain fits in. Now, beyond blockchain protocols such as Hedera Hashgraph can withstand the scale, but they make a heavy compromisation so far as centralization is concerned. So at this point of time, I don't think any blockchain protocols can withstand the scale. But what about centralized protocols such as Meta or Facebook? Now, because they are in a position to make quick decisions, they are in a position to withstand the scale, but you're making a heavy compromisation so far as centralization is concerned. And there are some real talks about Apple that they are not a fan of the whole Metaverse protocol. They are not a fan of NFTs, but they're willing to add NFTs and they're going to be charging 30%. So centralized protocols can withstand the scale, but at heavy compromisation, that is centralization. So if you're looking at user experience, at this point of time, I do think that a centralized protocol will be able to give you a 10x immersive experience so far as artificial intelligence NFT is concerned. And if you look at the user experience in Decentraland or Sandbox, I must say it is going back to 2000s or maybe even 1990s. And it's so critical, guys, when you talk about Metaverse, that the immersive experience is 10x better than what we are currently experiencing. And later in the episode, I'm also going to be talking about the Meta Quest Pro. And there are some mixed reactions to the reviews of Meta Quest Pro, so I'll very briefly go ahead and talk about it. And you could be an advocate of Meta or you could be a detractor, but what I'm trying to say is make sure you look at information from the first source and then try to make your own opinion. Now guys, let's talk about some positives and negatives of being an early adopter in the metaverse. Now before that, what I want you to do is I want you to think when you're talking about metaverse, when you're hearing things about metaverse, listening to podcasts or YouTube or any information about metaverse, is the metaverse news being dominated by cryptocurrency or blockchain advocates, or is it being dominated by someone who's working in the Metaverse industry. There is a massive difference between the two. I did listen to the interview of Roblox, and the guys actually did say that there is very little that blockchain and cryptocurrency can do merging with Roblox, and that is a true statement. The other question what I want you to think of when you're listening about protocols, let's say at any events, particularly GITEX or any metaverse related events or any metaverse related events, when you're looking at the speaker, these speakers, are they backed with experience or are they backed with a lot of funding? Now, I did share my experience regarding GITEX events, and out of all the speakers, there are only 3 speakers that I could think of were the right candidates to be talking about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and metaverse. Everyone else, they were heavily funded and they are financiers, which is perfectly fine. But them talking about the technology does not make sense. So when you're listening to any podcast or interviews or attending events, make sure that the speaker has some information or working experience in the metaverse industry. And the final thing which I think of is when you talk about the demand versus supply and the impact it'll have on hardware and software, what kind of an impact when inflation and geopolitical tensions will have on its future. So really critical stuff. And what I wanted to share is some points about the positives and negatives of being an early adopter, particularly in the metaverse industry. Now, the biggest advantage I can think of is the economies of scale, especially in the hardware sector. So let's say if you're someone who's trying to build a hardware that is virtual reality, mixed reality headset, economies of scale will play a massive crucial role, and it might give you a competitive advantage. If you're an early adopter, you also get better understanding of what the customer needs are, you understand the trends of the industry, you get a thorough analysis of what your competitor are doing, and that will give you a very strong competitive advantage. You can also be a trendsetter. So let's say if you have a monopoly, you get to dictate the specific direction of the industry. Now those are some of the cons, but having economies of scale can also be a disadvantage. The classic example I can think of is, let's say, Bitcoin mining. The mining rig does get redundant fairly quickly. So severe technological changes, particularly in the metaverse industry, so far as the hardware and the software is concerned, could make economies of scale redundant pretty quickly as well. So it is a risk that you should be willing to take. And if you look at Meta, how the mainstream media is bashing Meta, and Meta is an early adopter in the industry, the economies of scale are absolutely massive, and they're investing $15 billion over a period of time to make user experience so far as the virtual reality headset is concerned much better. The other area, guys, what I want you to think is, let's say if you are an early adopter in the industry, but you're working on a relatively small scale, what happens if there's a new entrant with a really strong financial backing? These companies can easily overtake the market. So let's take an instance. Let's say if you're a small startup, you are an early adopter, you have the economies of scale. But if Microsoft or Apple decides to enter into the market, they can easily overtake the market. It's very hard to compete with these strong giants. So all of your economic losses, all of your trend-setting experience just goes completely down the drain. And guys, one thing what we also need to understand is Porter's 5-force model. Now, I won't go into the detail of that. I probably might discuss this in the next episode. But one of the points that he mentions is the threat of substitute. Now, what I mean by that is, look at Instagram. Instagram has nothing to do with camera or clicking pictures, but it is an indirect threat to Kodak. Now, you could take a really small image, make all the necessary changes in Instagram, and that actually can be a threat to Kodak. So threats of substitute will play a massive role if you are an early adopter. So guys, what I'm going to be doing is the next episode that I'll release of Metaverse Everything, I'll try to speak about Porter's 5-force model, keeping in mind the Metaverse industry. So I'm going to be talking about competitive rivalry, I'm going to be talking about buyer power, supplier power, threat of new entrants, and the threat of substitutes. So it's so critical that we truly understand that things which are not in the industry can also be a threat to the Metaverse industry. The next point what I'd like to share is some information about Metaverse earnings report. Now look guys, when I'm going through my LinkedIn profile, I'm seeing a lot of bashing, a lot of incorrect news about Meta. Now just to clear it up, I am not a fan of Meta or Facebook at all. As a matter of fact, I'm a massive detractor of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg purely because of the political affiliations that they have. Now, that being said, I'm not a fan of fake news and misleading information as well. So the key message is when you're looking at information, particularly about Meta's earnings report, make sure you get the information directly from the first source. Now, on my Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast, on the 27th of October, I did post the official links, and there are 3 articles directly from Meta, which is given to the official authority that explains the Metaverse earnings reports. And surprisingly, the information that you see over there is completely misleading and different than you see from mainstream media. Now, why do you think mainstream media is bashing Facebook or Meta? It could be possible that mainstream media does want to direct you into a completely different industry. Now, could it be possible that mainstream media such as CNBC, CNN, Reuters, they have their own Metaverse protocols and they want to promote their own Metaverse protocol? I definitely do think that is possible. What I'm going to be sharing is just few pieces of information, both the positive and the negative things from the Meta's earnings report. Again, guys, the key information is check the information directly from first source and then make up your own mind. Now, as per the Meta's earnings report, it did actually state that they have a really strong engagement and they focused a lot of investments in artificial intelligence is concerned. And there are a couple of things that did actually stood out, which a lot of mainstream media is not talking about. The headcount in Meta or Facebook has actually increased by 32%. If a company is struggling, I don't think that they will be increasing the headcount. So they have actually increased the headcount by 32%. Another surprising thing that they mentioned was the feature of Reels. And Reels is getting a really strong engagement, particularly for Facebook. So the question is, if you are on Facebook, how much of time are you spending on Reel? Now look, guys, I did ask my relatives. And surprisingly, all of the relatives did say that lately, since the past 3 months or so, they've been watching Reels back to back. And most of them are often funny and they're watching it for no reasons at all. So when you talk about user interaction, Meta or Facebook has seen a significant improvement. Because of that, they've also had an increase in the ad impressions and price per ad. So you need to understand this information that is not talked by mainstream media. Could it be possible that these mainstream media are affiliated with other Metaverse protocols? Knowing mainstream media, I definitely do think so that is possible. Now in that article, they actually did mention that they did suffer a $600 million loss, but majority of that was actually spent on research and development. So if you actually go to the financial earnings, they actually increased the fundings in research and development in the third quarter of 2022. So once again, guys, please check it for yourself. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because when I'm looking at my LinkedIn profile, out of 10 news, 7 to 8 news is all negative news about Meta or Facebook. Now, could it be possible that Meta or Facebook is doing this on purpose as well? Because at the end of the day, any news adds to the publicity of Meta, and Meta did actually release the Quest Pro headset. Now, unfortunately, it is not available in UAE at this point of time. Now, I have seen mixed reactions to this. Now, I have 5 to 6 favorite YouTube channels, and some of them have said really positive things so far as the user experience is concerned, so far as the clarity is concerned. At the same time, I did notice one thing about the battery usage, that the battery usage lasts for only 2 hours to 3 hours, and that might just be one of the negative features so far as the Quest Pro headset is concerned. But other than that, one thing you need to understand is when you're looking at the Quest Pro headset, it is more catered towards businesses as opposed to individuals. And one thing, guys, you need to understand, when you're talking about Meta's virtual reality headset, their whole idea and the vision is to have a virtual reality headset the size of your sunglasses, might be even lighter, might be even thinner, and they are partnered with Ray-Ban. And the whole idea is they want users to use it for hours and hours together. Now, could it be possible that in a decade's time or so, will the virtual reality headsets replace mobile phones? I don't see a use case of why you would want to use mobile phone. If you have a wearable device which focuses on user experience and something that you can use for a longer time, maybe even contact lenses, that would be a really, really cool concept. So once again, guys, when you're looking at any information, not just about Meta, not just about Facebook, but about anything, make sure you look at information from the first source. One thing which I often say in my Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast to my friends and colleagues, particularly about politics as well. We live in a world where having loads of information is not important. Having information from first source is. Now let's talk about some of the potential threats of mainstream adoption of Metaverse. The first one I can think of is space travel. Now, what are your thoughts, guys? Can space travel digress interest from Metaverse? Now, think of it, guys. What if the news of space travel is fast forwarded and it does become mainstream in the next couple of years? So, one question which I want to ask you guys is, if you were given a choice to, let's say, get into the Metaverse experience, or if you were to choose space travel, what would you pick? Now, if given a choice to be a pioneer in space exploration or Metaverse, which one would the general mass choose as well? And when you talk about space exploration, the news captured by mainstream media will be massive, and there will be a race, and I'm not sure at this point of time which country will lead the race of our space exploration is concerned. Now, UAE does have a mission called as Emirates Mars Mission, and there are quite a lot of events taking place focusing only on space exploration. Future Innovation Summit, they have events twice a year, and lately they are focusing on space exploration, and I do feel that mainstream media coverage in space exploration will overtake the news of Metaverse. And if you look at the general population curiosity, that could potentially move towards space travel. And guys, there are a couple of companies that are pioneering the space travel, that is SpaceX by Elon Musk, Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos, Virgin Galactic by Sir Richard Branson, and quite a lot more. So when you talk about traveling to space, I do think that that could potentially digress interest from Metaverse, and social media and mainstream media's impact and manipulation can have a significant impact on the mainstream adoption of Metaverse. Now, this might just be a thought, but the reality is space exploration might be at least a couple of decades away, maybe half a century away. The second part I can think of is Neuro Technology, and companies such as Neuropod, Neuralink, they just might take the interest away from Metaverse, and there are different use cases and experiences that could significantly impact the interest among the general mass. So why would you want to use Metaverse when all can be done with neuro devices? Now, Elon Musk did have a brilliant interview with Joe Rogan, and this I believe was at least 2 to 3 years ago, where he actually mentioned the impact of Neuralink. Now, this might take at least a couple of years for it to go mainstream. So essentially, we can communicate with each other just using the chip. So rather than speaking, you use telepathic messages and then transfer the message to the other person, and quite a lot more. So do check out Elon Musk's interview with Joe Rogan. And I do think that artificial intelligence combined with neurotechnology could pose a significant threat to the metaverse industry. So imagine, guys, the neuro chip that would have all the features of virtual reality headset, augmented reality headset, and mixed reality headsets as well. So the neuro chip could potentially do all of these things combined and quite a lot more. And what I do think is, just imagine for a second, what if some famous celebrities start endorsing neurotechnology? Now that could pose a significant impact on metaverse. So let's say you have left-leaning celebrities from Hollywood who start promoting neurotechnology. I do think that that would significantly drive the interest from metaverse to neurotechnologies. Now, I do understand that as of now, there are very limited use cases, but as the industry matures, new use cases will be identified. Look at what is happening to metaverse. Everyone has jumped into the metaverse bandwagon ever since Facebook changed its name from Facebook to Meta. Significant impact could happen if the celebrities and one of the top companies do start focusing on neurotechnology, and social media and mainstream media's impact and manipulation could have significant impact on the mainstream adoption of metaverse. Now that being said, guys, Meta did have a preview of neurotechnology with metaverse, so go to YouTube and watch the keynote that Mark Zuckerberg had, and that keynote did actually show a use case of using neurotechnology with the Oculus Pro headset. The final thing that I can think of which could have a potential impact on the metaverse is war. Now, the conflict that is going on between Russia and Ukraine could potentially escalate and destabilize the entire world. This would have a severe impact so far as the supply chain management is concerned. And as we know that the world is leading towards deglobalization, so news of sanctions, financial losses could have a significant impact so far as investment in the metaverse is concerned. And that could delay user on board. But when you talk about Russia and Ukraine, another conflict which is slowly building up is China and Taiwan, and that could have significant impact on the supply chain, particularly for metaverse. And guys, when you talk about hardware and software, we are heavily dependent on nanochips and semiconductors, and Taiwan is one of the world leaders so far as semiconductors and nanochips are concerned. So extremely important to look at the updates of what is going on between China and Taiwan. The other area where I do think will have a significant impact on metaverse is your political affiliation. So right wing versus left wing, the internal conflict is so much, it could just might lead to a civil unrest in the US and other parts of the world as well. And in my Crypto and Coffee 88 podcast, I often discuss what political parties are in favor of Bitcoin, open source blockchain and metaverse. And surprisingly, it is the right-wing politicians who are in favor of Bitcoin, open source and blockchain. I really am not sure what their take on metaverse is though. And guys, lately the whole go woke, go broke agenda streamlined in the direction of metaverse with political affiliation could have a massive impact on metaverse. Now do one thing guys, go to Metaverse's Instagram account. You truly understand what I'm talking about. Even if you go to Nike's Instagram account, you truly understand what I'm talking about when I'm discussing go woke, go broke. And could that have an impact on metaverse? If the conflict between right wing and left wing do escalate, I do think it would have a significant impact on metaverse. The other area that we're experiencing right now is inflation, deflation, and stagflation, where uncertain economic situations could pose a severe threat in the next coming years, and rumors of looming recessions could significantly derail or delay the adoption of metaverse. Now, what are your thoughts, guys? Mention them in the comments below. Now, let's look at top 5 metaverse news from around the world. And the first news that we have is fashion. And guys, since the past few months, the very first news when I discuss the top 5 metaverse news from around the world is to do with fashion. Now, the news is about Gucci. So the news is Gucci Worlds opens Metaverse World in the sandbox with games and vintage fashion. And Gucci has launched an experiential space for NFTs, vintage items and emerging creators in the sandbox, making it the first major luxury brand to build its own world in the Metaverse platform. And this is unique because the Gucci Worldland, the virtual world, is open only from the 27th of October till the 9th of November. And it's designed to be a landing space for all Gucci's multiverse and Web3 efforts. The world will become home to curated NFT artwork, Gucci's previous NFTs, its communities, its concepts, and quite a lot more. And the brand's vintage pieces will be on display, but it will not be on sale though. And the space also gamifies education and Gucci's heritage and products and quite a lot more. So luxury brands are definitely getting mainstream adoption of Metaverse. The next news, guys, is from the founder of Snapshot, and unfortunately looks like he's the detractor of Metaverse. And even Spiegel, the founder and chief executive of Snapchat, has said, "The last thing I want to do when I get home from work after a long day is live inside a computer." And he said this particularly in reference to Metaverse. So what happened was that even Spiegel was at a tech conference hosted by the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday. And Spiegel made it clear that he has no interest in spending time in virtual reality, and he tried to take a jab at Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse, and the same theme is also echoed by Tim Cook from Apple as well. Now, are they trying to do that just to be a detractor for Meta or Facebook? I really am not sure. Now let's talk about the biggest project so far as real estate is concerned, and that is LandVault. And LandVault is the largest metaverse real estate company, assisting significant brand entry into the metaverse, and they have recently completed building 100 million square feet of virtual reality headset. So what are your thoughts, guys, as far as real estate and metaverse is concerned? Now, recently I did have, if not one of the best interviews with Makram, who's the CEO and founder of Arms and McGregor International, and he did actually say that when you're talking about real estate, it needs to be real. And so please check out that episode. Now, I do think that what he's saying is absolutely correct. So, what are your thoughts as far as real estate merging with Metaverse is concerned? Mention that in the comments below. Next news that I'd like to talk about is cricket, and one of the famous cricketers called Virat Kohli has entered the Metaverse platforms, and he is now part of the Metaverse as he now enters the world of digital collectibles, and he recently had a partnership with a company called FanCraze. Now, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with Metaverse, but they definitely have NFT projects, and he has actually sold quite a lot of NFTs, and each NFT is over $10,000, and this news is published by ESPN Cricket Info. So brilliant news, especially if you're a cricketer. The next newscast that I wanted to talk about is a Meta, and the part of it I've already covered so far as the Oculus Quest Pro is concerned. So the news is that on the 25th of October, the Oculus Quest Pro is out, and it is at purchase for $1,499. And a lot of people in LinkedIn are clearly bashing Meta, and surprisingly, none of them actually even have that headset. So they're just bashing Meta or Facebook for no reason. And one thing, guys, you need to understand, I am no fan of Facebook or Meta or Mark Zuckerberg. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the detractors of Facebook or Meta. But at the same time, I'm also a massive detractor of fake news and misleading information. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to share some information so far as Oculus Quest Pro is concerned. And they have released a headset. Unfortunately, it is not available in UAE at the moment, but the headset, that is Oculus Quest Pro, does include the headset. It has the Meta Quest Touch Pro controllers, stylish tips, partial light blockers, and quite a lot more. What I would say is try to do your own research, and before buying it, make sure that you understand that this particular headset is for a business use case and not for your daily active use. Now, if you do want your headset for your day-to-day activity, I would strongly recommend to stick to Oculus Quest 2. Now, guys, let's talk about top 5 Metaverse news from Dubai and UAE. And the first news is about a nightclub, and this is to do with H Hotel. So the news is that the new nightclub, which will feature Metaverse, will be located at the H Hotel in Dubai, and it is called as Vision. So Vision will launch in Dubai, built around the Metaverse. So what's going to happen is that the club goers and crypto owners will be able to turn coins into cocktails, while NFTs will also be able to be purchased. So really interesting concept of mixing cryptocurrencies with cocktails. Now it would be really interesting if they try to combine it with proof of attendance, so which means every user, the moment that they're entering in, rather than using a ticketing platform, they could use it using the Web3 protocol, and that's where the whole area of ticketing kicks in and NFT kicks in as well. So brilliant use case. The second news is about a 21-year-old from Dubai, and the person's name is Leila Hertzler. So the news is Versi Estate is a high-tech showroom at Askral Avenue, and they aim to introduce hyper-realism to help businesses to transition seamlessly to the virtual world. Now the biggest news is this is the brainchild of a 21-year-old. So really cool concepts. And guys, Dubai is the place where they actually promote innovative ideas, irrespective of your age. So you do have the opportunity to showcase your talent. So brilliant use case. The third news, guys, that I want to talk about is business in the Metaverse. So essentially, there is a company called XGoLand. So what they're trying to do is XGoLand is creating an environment for businesses to explore the Metaverse marketplace, gaming and digital assets. So it's going to be a Metaverse space boasting a range of unique features and functionalities aimed at solving a series of challenges. Now, if you are someone who's trying to build something so far as business and Metaverse is concerned, XGoLand is the place to go. But you have a massive competitor, that is Meta's Oculus Pro headset, and they have recently tied up with Accenture and Microsoft as well. But nonetheless, good luck to XGoLand. I hope that Meta does actually take a look at it, and somehow they do have some kind of partnership. It'll be brilliant news for Dubai and brilliant news for the Metaverse industry as well. The fourth news is a really interesting concept, and this is to do with music in the Metaverse. So the news is Dubai-based Everdome announces the first original Metaverse soundtrack, and this soundtrack is in collaboration with music composer Wojciech Urbensky. Now the soundtrack will be released in 2023. Now it's really brilliant to see music merging with NFTs and Metaverse. really interesting concept, and Everdome has been in the news, not just in the metaverse industry, but also in the cryptocurrency industry and in the music industry as well. So definitely brilliant news. And personally, guys, I am a musician as well. I do like to play drums, so I'll be really curious to see how the entire thing merges with the metaverse industry. The fifth and the final news for today is about Dubai Metaverse strategy. Now listen, guys, I do have a standalone episode explaining each and everything about the Dubai Metaverse strategy. So in this particular episode, I just wanted to share some updates so far as the Dubai Metaverse strategy is concerned. And Sheikh Hamdan did actually announce the Dubai Metaverse strategy at the Dubai Metaverse Assembly. And speaking of the Dubai Metaverse Assembly, yesterday I did have an interview with Richard Partner, who's if not one of the most prolific speakers and pioneering leaders in the metaverse, blockchain and cryptocurrency industry as well. So I'm going to be releasing her episode probably tomorrow or the next couple of days. And she was the one who actually arranged the entire Dubai Metaverse Assembly. So please do check it out. Now, so far as the Dubai Metaverse strategy is concerned, the strategy's key pillars focus on extended reality. Essentially, it blends the physical and virtual world. It focuses on augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. And it also focuses on digital twins, that is a virtual representation of an object or system. And guys, the Dubai Metaverse strategy seeks to foster innovation, enhance the metaverse's economic contributions through research and development collaborations, and promote advanced ecosystems utilizing accelerators and incubators to attract companies and projects to Dubai. The strategy seeks to foster talent and invest in future capabilities by providing the necessary support in metaverse education aimed at developers, content creators, and users of digital platforms in the metaverse community. And the strategy also seeks to develop Web3 technologies and its application to create governmental work models and development in vital sectors, including tourism, education, retail, remote work, healthcare, and the legal sector. And the strategy also aims to develop global standards in building safe and secure platforms for users and develop metaverse infrastructure and regulations to accelerate the adoption of these technologies. And guys, I do have a brilliant episode with Victor Medino, who talked on behalf of Metaverse Standards Forum, and he explained the importance of having standards in the metaverse. So really brilliant stuff. And guys, Dubai is taking 10 steps ahead so far as metaverse industry is concerned, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dubai is the number one city in the world so far as Web3 is concerned, and the top 10 city in the world so far as metaverse is concerned. So that's all for today, guys, on the Metaverse Everything podcast from Blockchain TXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, please drop me an email to info@blockchaintxb.com or area2071.com, and check out my website area2071.com that talks everything about Metaverse, and also check out my website blockchaintxb.com that talks everything about Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse as well. And guys, if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And remember, guys, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes in the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And Monday to Thursdays, I do have an Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. And what you're listening to right now is a Metaverse Everything podcast where we solely focus on Metaverse. And Metaverse Everything podcast is a research-driven podcast focusing on educational and informational content about Metaverse and its impact. So thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a brilliant day ahead. Bye-bye.